The Lives of the Saints by Father Alban Butler. October 12th, Our Lady Aparecida. The devotion to the Immaculate Conception of the Blessed Virgin was propagated by the Portuguese since the first times of their arrival in Brazil. The most distinguished testimony of this veneration is found a few kilometers from Guaratingueta, a town in the state of São Paulo on the banks of the Paraíba in the village of Aparecida, which owes its name and its origin to the famous sanctuary of Our Lady, built there in 1743. The traditional and legendary history of Our Lady of Aparecida, a small black wooden statue very delicately carved, as recorded in a document of the time, is as follows. Towards the end of the year 1717, the governor of São Paulo, Don Pedro de Almeida, Count of Assumar, passed through Guaratingueta, and to entertain him, some fishermen went out in their canoes to cast their nets in the Paraíba River. One of them, by the name of Juan Alves, separated himself from the rest and cast his net in front of a place on the coast called Puerto Itaguaçu. From the first cast, the fisherman pulled out in the meshes of his net an object covered with algae and weeds in which the body of a carved statuette could be guessed, with its head missing. Amazed by the find, Juan threw the net in another direction and this time managed to catch the head of the effigy. Without wasting time, he went to the shore, and after stripping the objects of the weeds that covered them and cleaning them as best he could, he verified that the head fit perfectly on the body of the image and discovered that it represented the Virgin Mary in her Immaculate Conception. It was never known how that image ended up in the riverbed, but the fact is that the fishermen who found it took it with them, and in the house of one of them, named Felipe Pedrosa, they built an altar and began to worship it. Shortly after, a son of Felipe built a small chapel to deposit the image halfway between Puerto Itaguaçu and Guaratingueta. Proposed there to the veneration of the faithful, the Virgin Mary immediately aroused, by her miraculous graces, a great concourse of faithful in ever-increasing number. The devotion to the Aparecida, as the people called the image from then on, spread so rapidly that in 1725 the ecclesiastical authorities had to intervene, put the Pauline monks in charge of the chapel, and began to campaign for the construction of another larger church. By commission of the Bishop of Rio de Janeiro, and thanks to his dedicated collaboration, the sanctuary was finished in 1743, was solemnly consecrated, and the image was transferred with all the honors. The cult grew in an extraordinary way. Pilgrimages came from everywhere, with very rich donations for the Virgin. The care of the image and its many goods was entrusted to the Diocese of São Paulo, and around the temple, the population of La Aparecida began to grow. Already in the middle of the 19th century, the great sanctuary that exists today was built and is visited by about 75,000 pilgrims every year. The Supreme Pontiffs have enriched the sanctuary with various graces and privileges, such as the concession of the title of Basilica. By decree of the Chapter of the Vatican Basilica, on the occasion of the first 50th anniversary of the proclamation of the dogma of the Immaculate Conception, the image of the Aparecida was crowned by the Archbishop of São Paulo, but even more solemn were the celebrations of the proclamation of Our Lady of Aparecida as Patroness of Brazil on July 16, 1930, when the holy image was transported in triumphal procession to Rio de Janeiro, where it was received with indescribable rejoicing. After the coronation, in the presence of the President of the Republic, ministers and statesmen, Cardinal Leme, Archbishop of Rio, pronounced the formula of consecration of Brazil to the Immaculate Heart of Mary in her invocation of Our Lady of Aparecida.